Hey, hope you're having a good Tuesday. Thank you for joining me for today's 5 for 5. Over the last few weeks, I have mentioned multiple times about a project we've been doing in our house, and I have been laying vinyl plank flooring into my house, and I promise this is the last illustration I bring from that job. It's just something about, though, when you're laying about 1,000 square feet of vinyl plank, that these things just sort of pop in your head. I was coming up on this one part where I was trying to get these things to snap together. If you've ever done any kind of click flooring or tongue and groove work, you can know that it clicks together, it locks together. And I had some places where it just didn't want to go square, it didn't want to go right. But what I found was that the more rows I laid down, the more planks I put into place, the bigger mass this whole floor gained, the more square it all became. That when it was all tight and running all in the same direction, right up next to each other, that things just started to come together. It reminded me that we, as the body of Christ, we are truly stronger together. A favorite illustration of mine is if you take a single bamboo skewer and you try to break it, it'll snap so quickly. You take 100 bamboo skewers, you put them together and hold them tight, cluster them up, tie them up, you can't break it. It would take a strong man to maybe even get it to bend just a little bit. It is just an amazing illustration of how we as the body of Christ are stronger together. In 2 Peter chapter 2, we see Peter telling the people who are now the people of God, people who were once outside of the chosen people of God, who weren't Israelites, but ones who are now believers. He's calling out to them, and he says that Jesus Christ calls us to be a part of his holy temple, but that we're all a part of the holy temple. It says, coming to Jesus, coming to him as a living stone, which has been rejected by men, that's Jesus, but is choice and precious in the sight of God. Jesus is all those things. It says, you also as living stones are being built up as a spiritual house for a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. There's a lot going on there, but what it's saying is that as the people of God, as we come together, we are actually bringing about the work of the priesthood. We are becoming a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices to God as we worship him with our praise, as we worship him with lives surrendered and sacrificed to him, as we surrender completely to him. One of the things that stands out to me throughout this in 2 Peter is that Peter never switches to the singular. He's not talking to individuals. He's talking to all of the people together. In verse 9, he says, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, so that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. For you once were not a people, but now you are the people of God. You had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Peter is speaking to people who were not part of the chosen people of God, but now they're in the family of God, just as those who were chosen were before, and just as all who would put their faith in Jesus Christ would be. And he would say, you weren't a people, you were different races, you were different people from different places, but God has brought you together to be one of his children, one of his family, and all together into one holy nation together for his purpose and as his possession. It's a great calling that God gives us, that he calls us to be together in this, in unity. Here in this church services, we're seeing more and more people coming back every week, and it's exciting to see people coming together to worship God. Getting off their couches in worship, or getting out of their houses where they've been worshiping separately, maybe because of fears of COVID or because of just busy schedules, but coming back into worship and worship together. And it's just a good reminder to me of how valuable the whole church is for each one of us, that we are truly stronger together, and that when we come together, we strengthen each other up. And God's got a special purpose and a special plan for us together as the body of Christ, to do his work, to be his holy people called out for his purposes. When we come together, we're able to lift his name up in praise and to his glory. Check out 2 Peter, or 1 Peter chapter 2, jump into it and see what God's calling is, not just for you, but for all of his people as we draw in close together. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you on Sunday.